How's it going, guys? It's Sneaky Mode and welcome to my Rogue 5.3 PvP guide. In this guide I'm going to be covering Specialization, Talents, Glyphs, and Gems and Reforging. Starting with Specialization, in 5.3 I find Subtlety to be the most effective. Either it be most damage output or utility. I think this is the best spec for rogues right now. However, combat has a lot of burst. I think it's not really that effective when running freeze or having the ability to peel in comparison to subtlety, and overall the utility I think is far more superior. Talent wise, most rogue talents now are pretty set in stone. I use this talent combination with any spec regardlessly. I think this is the most effective combination when running 3s, 5s, 2s, or arenas, any type, and battlegrounds either rated or random. So for the first talent I'm going to be running Subterfuge. Subterfuge allows you to be stealth for 3 seconds after opening, so if you open you have 3 more seconds to cast Cheap Shot, Garrote, or Ambush. This allows you to get effective openers on multiple targets and can allow for greater CC or peels depending on what you need. For the second tier actually, I'm running Combat Readiness. It overall mitigates a large portion of damage. I never really found No Strike or Deadly Throw to be as effective as Combat Readiness, and I find it pretty much superior to any combination. However, running against melees with no pets, you could probably mix it up and try something different. For the 45 tier, I'm running Elusiveness. This is pretty much the one you're always going to want to use. If you're not comfortable with using Feint, however, you could use Cheat Death. I really don't recommend using Poison. Basically, Elusiveness adds on a 30% overall damage reduction to your Feint ability, causing for massive damage mitigation whenever Feint's up. Feint only costs a low amount of energy, so as long as you have a decent energy pool, you can probably keep it up, and overall damage reduction pretty much throughout the whole fight. Level 60 talent, probably the most important. I'm running Cloak and Dagger. It allows you to teleport 20 yards behind to the target. In combination with Subterfuge, you can basically teleport around while in stealth, cheap shotting, garroting, ambushing multiple targets to get effective openers. When running 3s, I garrote the first target, garrote the second target, or either cheap shot the first target, cheap shot the second target, cheap shot the third target, and then cheap shot or garrote the healer again. This allows for multiple CC and my team to get an effective opener and pretty much put pressure on the healer already. It starts the offensive and keeps the other team on the defensive the entire fight, which allows us to get better CCs and peels and anything like that. For the 75 tier, you can run 2 things. You can either run Prey on the Weak or Paralytic Poison. I like to run Paralytic Poison. I don't dump most of my combo points into Kidney Shot unless I'm running peels or trying to stun lock somebody. So I like Paralytic Poison because it allows you to effectively generate or stun targets. Also, the Shiv ability is really effective for peels. It allows you to basically root the target for 4 seconds. So if my healer is being trained by melee DPS, I can always run and quickly root the target and get effective peels off. After that, my 90 talent, I'm running Mark for Death. This is debatable, however. You can run Mark for Death or Shuriken Toss. If I was running a combat spec build, I'd probably run Shuriken Toss just for the overall effectiveness, and being rooted down really isn't ever that good, and you still want to put some pressure out even if you're being rooted or nova'd or anything. You want to be still useful to your team. I find Mark for Death though more important than Subtlety because eviscerates your main damage output, and adding additional 5 combo points instantly for a full eviscerate seems to be the best way to burst down healer or DPS. Okay, so now on to Glyphs. I'm running Glyph of Cloak of Shadows, Glyph of Blind, and Glyph of Garrote. Glyph of Cloak of Shadows is really good when finding melee cleaves because it reduces the total physical damage by 40% when you're running Cloak of Shadows, like when it's up. This can be combined with your elusiveness target with the Feint ability, so you're stacking 70% damage reduction. So if a warrior pops the Recklessness on you and he's Wreck Storming or just going ham with his overpowers, you can pop Elusiveness and Cloak of Shadows, and that's 70% damage reduction for 5 seconds, which allows your healer to get you out of there or to get some effective peels off for overall, survivability when it comes down to things. After that, I'm running Glyph of Blind. I find it's really effective when CCing. You don't want your damage or dots to get your target out of blind, and I use this a lot when blinding out of, say, a Cyclone or blinding out of Scatter Trap. I run Thug a lot, so blinding out of Scatter Trap is an additional 8 seconds of CC off DR, and it's really useful, especially if the Hunter has any bleed, any Serpent Sting, or if I have any bleeds up, it takes them off, so you can get a full CC. After that, I'm running Glyph of Garrote, which increases the duration of your silence effect on Garrote by 1 second. It's extremely effective when fighting casters or healers. Like I said in the beginning, when running Subterfuge and Cloak and Dagger, you can get the teleport off. So starting with the cheap shot, that's 4 seconds, and if you go back to a Garrote, it's an additional 3-second silence. So it's 7 seconds of CC on the healer, which allows your team, like I said, to get an effective opener. Overall, that pretty much mandatory glyphs. If I'm running a spellcaster cleave, I'll exchange Cloak of Shadows for cheap shot, just to increase the extra CC and stun damage on casters, so I can lock them down for a little bit longer to do even more damage on them. Sometimes, if I know my healer's gonna get bombed right away, I run Glyph of Smoke Bomb. You can, when you smoke bomb, your allies take decreased 20% damage. So a smoke bomb for an additional 2 seconds is actually helpful. I sometimes run that too for focusing on swapping card to a healer, say a disc when he void swaps. It basically allows my team to be safe inside the smoke bomb, and their DPS can't get really any peels off the healer. So I think that's effective too. But overall, if you're running against a melee cleave or anything where you're going to get hit hard by melee damage, I think this is the best build. Like I said, you can exchange Glyph of Cloak of Shadows for cheap shot or smoke bomb. Okay, so next I'm going to be talking about gemming and reforging. First, reforging. Yeah, I really highly recommend getting an add-on called Reforge Lite. It's this UI right here. It allows you to easily reforge the stat priorities, and it can basically save you time, and a lot of people have a hard time reforging. I don't really know why, but this will help you out immensely, pretty much. They have different talent, target levels, and everything here, but I use it basically for stat priorities. Reforging for subtlety, you're going to want to have crit as your first priority, mastery as your second, and then hit or haste after that. Obviously you're going to want your 3% expertise and hit cap on everything. Basically, crit allows you to hit higher eviscerates and pretty much increase your damage output, and the mastery increases the effectiveness of your slice and dice and finishing moves, which in turn increases the damage on your eviscerate. Crit and mastery are pretty much the most effective stats for rogues right now. However, if you're running combat, you're going to want to go full mastery. Last but not least, gemming. This is probably the most important when focusing stat priorities. Like I mentioned, with reforging, crit strike, and mastery are going to be your most important, so you're going to be wanting to stack agility and mastery gems. For that, I'm using delicate primordial rubies and assassin's imperial amethysts. So for the delicate primordial ruby, that'll cover your red sockets, and assassin's imperial amethyst will cover your red, purples, or blue sockets. I use it for blues mostly. You're going to want it after that. I'm pretty sure it's called the Deft Primordial Onyx or something like that. It's an orange socket, and that one covers let's see if I can find it here, 100 or 80 agility and 160 mastery. So basically your stat priorities are agility, mastery, and then PvP power after that. So I gem my blue sockets 80 agility, 180 or 80 PvP power, and then I gem my reds 160 agility, and then I gem my yellows 180 agility, 160 mastery. Pretty much helps out the most. For your meta, you're going to want to go 216 agility, 3% increased crit strike. If you have your, obviously, tyrannical gem, you're going to want to run with that. But I think most people watching this guide aren't going to have that. So yeah, that's pretty much gems. If you have any questions, I'll put the links in the description for the gems. You can just copy and paste from the auction house, relatively cheap. Besides that though, it's basic talents, glyphs, and everything set up. If you have any questions, sneaky mode on Dark Spear Alliance, or you can just leave a comment in the description below or send me a message on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I did this guide all live, so if I made any mistakes, I do apologize.